8th, 2023 afternoon session of the Portland City Council. Good afternoon. Please call the roll.
Good afternoon. Rubio.
Here.
Ryan.
Here.
Gonzalez.
Here.
Maps.
Here.
Wheeler.
Here. We'll now hear from legal counsel on the rules of order and decorum. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Commissioners. Welcome to Portland City Council. City Council is holding hybrid public meetings with in-person attendance in addition to electronic attendance. If you wish to testify before council in person or virtually, you must sign up in advance by visiting the council agenda on the council clerk's webpage at www.portland.gov/council/agenda. You may sign up for communications to briefly speak about any subject. You may also sign up for public testimony on resolutions, reports, or the first readings of ordinances. Written testimony may be submitted at cctestimony@portlandoregon.gov. Your testimony should address the matter being considered at the time. When testifying, please state your name for the record. Your address is not necessary. Please disclose if you are a lobbyist. If you are representing an organization, please identify it. For testifiers joining virtually, please unmute yourself once the council clerk calls your name. The presiding officer preserves order and decorum during city council meetings so everyone can feel welcome, comfortable, respected, and safe. Presiding officer determines the length of testimony. Individuals generally have 3 minutes to testify unless otherwise stated. A timer will indicate when your time is done. Disruptive conduct such as shouting, refusing to conclude your testimony when your time is up, or interrupting others' testimony or council deliberations will not be allowed. If there are disruptions, a warning will be given that further disruption may result in the person being ejected for the remainder of the meeting. After being ejected, a person who fails to leave the meeting is subject to arrest for trespass. Additionally, council may take a short recess and reconvene virtually. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. All right, we have one afternoon item. That's item number 125, please. This is an ordinance.
Amend the planning and zoning code to clarify the rules for shelters, facilitate more shelter options for Portlanders in need.
Colleagues, this is a hearing of the Portland City Council. Today's date is February 8th, 2023. Good afternoon, everyone. We're here today to discuss and hold a hearing on a proposal from the Bureau of Planning and Sustainability on the Shelter to Housing Continuum Part 2. These are technical amendments to the zoning code as a follow-up to the first Shelter to Housing Continuum project that the Council adopted back in early 2021. This is a first reading of this item, of course. We'll hear a presentation from staff. We will take public testimony on the proposal and have time for council questions as well as discussion. Commissioner Rubio, would you like to share some opening remarks? And I believe you may also have some potential amendments to offer.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I'm pleased to introduce this ordinance that proposes technical amendments related to how shelters are regulated. The need for these changes were identified by the Joint Office on Homeless Services and Safe Rest Village staff as they began to develop shelters and work with operators. The original project that rewrote the shelter rules in 2021 was called the Shelter to Housing Continuum Project. It expanded housing and shelter options for individuals and households with extremely low incomes. It also created flexibility in siting all types of shelters and expand how shelters could operate as a permanent use. Prior to that project, most outdoor shelters were not allowed as a permanent use in the zoning code and could only operate temporarily during a designated emergency. So with this project, the primary intent is to reduce barriers to building permanent shelters that do not rely on temporary rules or a declared housing emergency. This is a great example of a city bureau being responsive and nimble in the face of our shelter and housing shortage. And I really, really appreciate that. I'd like to thank the staff at the Planning and Sustainability Commission who devoted their time to bring this project to us for consideration. And I look forward to hearing from the public on this matter as well. But before I pass it on to staff to begin the presentation, I'd like to introduce an amendment so that we can give testifiers a chance to express their thoughts. Staff brought the need for this amendment to my attention and have submitted a memo into the record dated February 6, 2023. The amendment ensures that greenway, environmental, and archaeological resources are protected while still allowing for outdoor shelters to be established. And I've asked the staff to explain the technicalities. So Sandra, can you please share the details and show us the slide with the proposed amendments, please? Oh, thank you.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner Rubio. So as you mentioned, the amendment contains changes to standards
I'm
for...
sorry, could I get you to identify yourself for the record, please?
Sure,
Apologies.
that's okay. Sandra Wood with the Bureau of Planning and Sustainability.
Thank you.
Thank you. So the amendment contains changes that are needed for the standards or the rules that apply to outdoor shelters in relation to the greenway, environmental, and archaeological resources. As shown on the slides, there's four parts to the amendment. The first one prohibits outdoor shelters in the greenway and river setbacks. The Part B is to apply the Johnson Creek Basin Plan District South Subdistrict to outdoor shelters. Part C is to continue to apply the archaeological resources standards in several areas of the city. I don't expect any of you to understand what I just said, and JP will explain exactly what those amendments mean as part of the presentation. Part D is really a housekeeping amendment, which is to replace all of the documents that we, next slide, actually, please. So we need to replace the original documents that we filed with new documents that reflect the amendment that Commissioner Rubio is putting forth right now. So with that, I want to thank Commissioner Rubio for moving this amendment. I think it'll make a big improvement. Thank you.
Very good. Can I get a second? Commissioner Ryan seconds. We'll hold it open, Commissioner Rubio, until we've had the opportunity to hear public testimony and hear the full presentation.
Mr. Mayor,
Commissioner Maps.
I think the city attorney has a...
I just want to make sure it's reflected on the record that all of the documents referred to in the motion by staff are included and attached to the agenda item so that people watching the hearing can look at those amendments.
Thank you. Thank you for that clarification. Very good. All right, now we'll hear from BPS staff on the presentation. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much for having us today, Mayor and Commissioners. It's nice to be here in person again. And we're here to hold a hearing for the Shelter to Housing Continuum Project Part 2. This is a group of technical amendments to the original Shelter to Housing project. The project has been recommended to you by the Planning and Sustainability Commission. They've already had a hearing on that, and we have the Commission Vice Chair here to present at the end of our presentation. These are technical zoning code amendments that to rules that City Council already adopted in April of 2021. My name is Sandra Wood with the Bureau of Planning and Sustainability, and with me is JP McNeil. He is the project manager on this project. We're both planners with the Bureau of Planning and Sustainability.
Thank you both.
Next slide, please. Thank you. Actually, it was the previous slide, sorry. So the Shelter to Housing Continuum project, what we know was passed in 2021. It created flexibility in siting shelters and expanded the city's ability to site shelters as a permanent use. As a reminder, shelters can be operated by a variety of providers. The city, the county, nonprofit organizations, religious organizations have been building shelters on their parking lots. Next slide, please. This slide shows three ways that shelters can be allowed. One is permanently, another one is temporarily during a designated emergency, and a third is temporarily without a declared emergency. Prior to the housing continuum, the Shelter to Housing Continuum project, most outdoor shelters, such as the Safe Rest Villages, could only be cited as temporary emergency shelters under the zoning code. That project created a pathway for shelters to be built and operated without the need for an emergency declaration. As shelters providers began to develop long-term shelters, such as the Kenton Women's Village, the new code presented some unexpected technical barriers to implementation. So we have been working with the providers to identify what those are, and the purpose of this project is to basically make some of those, make those technical fixes. Next, please. We have conducted some community involvement with this project. Most notably, we have participated over the months in the Housing Continuum Work Group. We have been talking to, and we sent notice to the coalition offices and neighborhood groups for meetings and held several of them. We've been working on an ongoing basis with the Safe Rest Village staff and have really appreciate their input, Commissioner Ryan, and with the Joint Office of Homeless Services on an ongoing basis. Of course, we sent our public notices for the Planning and Sustainability Commission, who held a hearing in October. And then, of course, we're here for a hearing today. And with that, I will pass the next slide over to JP, and he can explain what the amendments are. Thank you.
Thanks, Sandra. For the record, I'm JP McNeil. I'm a city planner with the Bureau of Planning and Sustainability. So I'll get more into the substance of the proposals here. So the recommended draft contained 4 proposals. There's one key change we're calling, and then 3 additional changes that are more technical in nature. So the first proposal is an amendment to exempt outdoor shelters from base zone, overlay zone, and plan district development standards. And what the proposal does is it creates a blanket exemption for outdoor shelters from those standards, and instead we've created a limited set of development standards that apply just for outdoor shelters, for maximum height, setbacks, and screening. And just the asterisk on that slide is just to note that this is the amendments sort of plug into this key change. So the second change that we're talking about are amendments. The technical ones, we're talking about an amendment to clarify how large of an industrial site an outdoor shelter can occupy. The next proposal includes amendments to exempt outdoor shelters that are allowed uses on a site with an existing conditional use, in some cases without triggering an additional conditional use review. And finally, there's a proposal to clarify how shelter operations are regulated under the temporary activities chapter that Sandra mentioned. So next slide, please. So to dig in a little deeper, the outdoor shelter standards, this is that key change. It would grant that blanket exemption to base, overlay, zone, and plan district standards, and then create a limited set of standards. And so the standards we're talking about are a height standard. So this creates a standard that structures for an outdoor shelter cannot be more than 20 feet tall. There's no current standard pertaining to outdoor shelters for height, and so this is new. The next is the setback standards, and so this proposal is for a setback standard of 5 feet from adjacent properties. And this is a change from the Shelter to Housing Continuum Project, where there is a setback standard already. Under the current rules, outdoor shelters need to be 25 feet from adjacent residentially zoned properties. And so this is a change from that. And because what we heard from shelter operators is that the large setbacks of 25 feet, if you're talking about a smaller site and a small-scale shelter, it essentially it's impractical to impossible to put a shelter on that because it just swallows up the whole site if it's a larger site. And the 5-foot setbacks, those are aligned with typical setbacks in a residential zone. Finally, we have our screening standard, which is, there was a screening standard with the original Shelter to Housing project as well, and that included a standard for a 6-foot fully or totally site obscuring fence. And we're proposing to change that standard to allow for a 6-foot partially obscuring fence. And if you go to the next slide, it will show a little bit more about what I'm talking about. So here, this is on the, you can see the diagram of 2 types of fences. This is how it is in the zoning code. What we've heard from shelter operators is that there is a general preference for totally site obscuring fences, and they provide security and screening for neighbors and residents of the shelters. And if you look at most of the outdoor shelters that are out there today, you'll see 6-foot, fully site obscuring wooden fences surrounding them. The reason we're proposing this change, however, to provide for more flexibility, because there have been some cases that we've heard from shelter operators where they find a site with an existing chain link fence on the site, and so it's far less costly and wasteful to allow them to keep that existing fence and modify it with the plastic slat so that it's partially site obscuring rather than removing the chain link fence and installing a fully site obscuring wooden fence. It still meets the intent of providing some privacy and security, but at a lower cost. Next slide, please. So these are the next 3 are the more technical amendments. This is related to outdoor shelter sites and clarifies that outdoor shelters can be located on sites larger than 2 acres in industrial zones. So this amendment just brings the size limitation for outdoor shelters in industrial zones into alignment with the original intent of the Shelter to Housing Code. The intent was for there to be a maximum size limitation for outdoor shelters of 2 acres, but it wasn't intended to necessarily exclude sites that are larger than 2 acres from hosting an outdoor shelter. So in industrial zones, you often find sites that are going to be much larger than 2 acres in size. And so we're just clarifying that the outdoor shelter itself is limited to 2 acres, but a larger site, the site itself can be larger than 2 acres. So an example would be, say, an unused portion of a parking lot on an industrial zone site where they just want to use a portion of the parking lot, but the site itself is 20 acres in size. And so this says you can only have a 2-acre shelter, but the site doesn't matter how tall or how large the site is. Next slide, please. This amendment has to do with conditional use sites, and it would exempt outdoor shelters on sites with an existing conditional use in some cases. So what we're talking about here are shelters on sites with an existing conditional use. An example would be a church in a residential zone, and they want to add an outdoor shelter, which is an outright allowed use for that site up to a certain size. And so when the church was originally built, there was likely to have been a conditional use approval that went through a conditional use review, and that would have included conditions, say, for that church use for parking area or operation or hours of use and whatnot. And so typically when you make a change to a site with an existing conditional use, there are certain thresholds that can trigger another conditional use review, which is a land use review, and it adds cost and expense to a development. And so this proposal raises that threshold for shelters, outdoor shelters needing a conditional use review. And those are the cases here on, would be on the slide. They're adding floor area up to a certain area, adding exterior activity area up to a certain size, or removing up to 50% of the parking. And so in all other cases where a conditional use review would be triggered, it would continue to be triggered. But for these exceptions, an outdoor shelter would not trigger an additional conditional use review. Next slide, please. And finally, these amendments clarify rules for shelters that are operating as a temporary activity. So as Sandra noted earlier, temporary activities, a shelter has historically and can still be operated under the temporary activities rules for up to 180 days. So this proposal doesn't change any of that, but what it does is clarifies that parking areas can be used for shelters operating as a temporary activity, and also just clarifies that temporary structures can be used on a site with a shelter being operated as a temporary activity. And these are just some Bureau of Development Services interpretations that we're cleaning up for that. Next slide, please. And now these are the amendments to the recommended draft that Commissioner Rubio has proposed. And so they're generally they're exceptions to outdoor shelter standards. And so as I mentioned before, the recommended approach that we had was to exempt outdoor shelters from development standards and base zone, overlay zone, plan district zones, and create a simplified set of standards for outdoor shelters. And so with that blanket exemption, it created a few gaps that were identified that cover important resources that we want to protect. So, and those are standards related to greenway resources, environmental, and archaeological protections. So next slide, please. So this first part of the amendment is to prohibit outdoor shelters in greenway and river setbacks. These apply along the Willamette River. And so the proposal is to just add the greenway and river setbacks to the list of areas where outdoor shelters are prohibited, which now is generally environmentally related areas of the city. Next slide, please. Part B is to continue to apply the Johnson Creek Basin Plan District South Subdistrict standards, to outdoor shelters. So there is a plan district a part of the Johnson Creek area. The South Subdistrict has some additional regulations about tree removal and size of impervious surfaces that capture or slow stormwater runoff and to help mitigate flooding and landslides in the Johnson Creek Basin. And so those standards would continue to apply to a outdoor shelter proposed in the South Subdistrict. And then the last piece here has to do with the archaeological resources. So the amendment proposes to continue to apply the standards for archaeological resources in some areas of the city. These rules provide a process to survey areas where there's a high probability of having archaeological resources prior to any ground disturbing activities. So those would continue to apply to these areas. And with that, I'm going to hand it back to Sandra for the next portion.
I get to do the housekeeping. So Part D of the amendment is to replace the documents that show, that reflect Parts A through C of the amendment. And as our city attorney reminded us, these are linked to the item on the city council agenda for folks at home to watch. And next slide, please. Another piece of housekeeping is to mention that the record for this legislative project is available at these two links. Thank you. Last one, please. So finally, what we are hoping that city council action would be, we recommend that council vote on the amendment that Commissioner Rubio introduced, adopt the Shelter to Housing Part 2 technical amendments as amended draft, and then amend the zoning code as shown in that draft. Thank you.
Very good. And that completes the presentation.
Yes.
Colleagues, before we take, I believe we also have invited testimony before public testimony.
Correct.
Does anybody have any burning questions that they'd like to get out at this particular juncture? I just have one quick one, and I suspect I know the answer. So this is for shelter that is sanctioned, in other words, sponsored by the city. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And it
Okay.
doesn't have to be by the city. It can be the county, a
Anybody
nonprofit.
who is
Yes.
Correct.
using sanctioned resources would go through a sanction process and get
Right.
these approvals, environmental safety, setbacks, and
Right.
others.
It's to get permitted so you have to be sanctioned and
Great.
get the permit.
And I just want to state the obvious. This does not apply to people who are not following the rules, who are simply establishing their own encampments. This does not impact that.
Correct.
And I
That's
say
correct.
that to be very transparent because I believe it is better to have people in sanctioned rather than unsanctioned encampments for a variety of public health, safety, and environmental reasons. But this is just one more I will add to the list. With that, I'll let you introduce your invited testimony.
That would be great. So we have our Vice Chair of the Planning and Sustainability Commission here, Erica Thompson.
Hi, Erica.
The commission held a hearing, I believe it was in October?
The hearing was
Something
in
like
hearing October 8th and vote November 11th.
Yes, thank you. Nice.
No,
Something like that. Yeah.
Great.
So Commissioner Thompson.
Thank you, Sandra. Good afternoon, Mayor and Commissioners. My name is Erica Thompson, and I'm a Vice Chair on the Planning and Sustainability Commission. I'm really pleased to be here this afternoon to share the PSC's unanimous support for staff's proposal on the Sheltered Housing Continuum Part 2. As Sandra and JP have shared, the proposed code modifications are an important step in advancing the objectives of the Sheltered Housing Continuum package that was adopted in 2021 by removing unforeseen implementation barriers and by expanding shelter options for people without housing. As with passage of any major policy or code package, there are frequently unforeseen circumstances that are difficult to predict and identify before the policy is tested in the real world. And I think that BPS has done a really great job of listening to shelter operators to understand where these issues exist with the original Sheltered Housing Continuum package and quickly developing amendments to address them. The Planning and Sustainability Commission had no in-person testifiers for this proposal, and we had only 2 written testifiers. As a result, our discussion and deliberations were pretty minimal, and we had no reservations about supporting staff's proposal. So I appreciate your time, thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions about the PSC's process.
Very good, thank you. And I want to acknowledge the great work you do not only on this, but on a whole host of issues. It's very technical, it's difficult, the pay's terrible.
Pay.
Get to see each other in person. I really want to thank you for calling. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
I maybe just have one conceptual question, and bootstraps a little bit off of the mayor's earlier question. So when we're looking at what the zoning and planning code does with respect to sanctioned camping, how would you answer a citizen that's concerned about things that occur outside the sanctioned camp, that occur across the street, that are arguably outside of the zoning and planning? And I guess I would kind of welcome your, where does that zoning and planning fit in that question about the activities that may occur at an adjoining property or in close proximity to a sanctioned camp?
I think that that's where cross-bureau and cross-agency coordination and collaboration is really important because, just going back to the discussion about sanctioned versus unsanctioned, I mean, all of the shelters that would be coming before the Bureau of Development Services under this modified package or the original sheltered housing continuum are trying to follow a process, and they're trying to become sanctioned and to play by the rules. And so that's the purview of what we, are able to affect and to consider. And I hear your point that there are ripple effects, and I frankly don't know the best way of addressing those, at least not within the zoning code constraints.
So it's fair to say the zoning and planning code is not necessarily the place to address that kind of a concern on adjoining property. It's not to say it's not the city's responsibility, it's not our collective responsibility, but it may not be planning and zoning's responsibility.
That's fair to say of my perspective.
Okay. Thank you.
First of all, thanks for your service. Because I've been in the weeds in this and how, I'm just surprised to hear that there wasn't more testimony or I'm sure there's a lot of engagement because I know through the Safe Rest Village team, the good people at We Shine, Beacon Village, they've been our test pilots, if you will, to see what could improve about this legislation that we passed in early 2021. So clearly they've been actively engaged. It kind of came across as there wasn't, but I mean, they were actively engaged, right? It just wasn't general public coming in.
Yeah.
All right. All right, good.
I mean, from the perspective of, myself and the Planning and Sustainability Commission, I think it was just the very focused and technical nature of these amendments. And sometimes we do find with other, code efforts that that doesn't stop people, from coming to the table with their ideas. But I don't think that was for lack of staff engagement and outreach.
I didn't know when we were going to be here, but I just can't tell you how many times we're like, yes, I'm taking this down, and we will be back, and we'll make modifications. So that's what this is. And you got that feedback, obviously. You can tell by what I'm seeing here. Okay.
Yes.
Just wanted to get into the record. There's been a lot of engagement on this topic. Yeah.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there any invited testimony, Commissioner Maps?
Yes, that's all the invited testimony we had.
I have a quick question. Could staff explain the relationship between the ordinance before us today and the housing emergency that we have declared? So we've declared, I believe, a state of emergency around housing. Does that state of emergency, do these rules kick in after we lift the emergency, or are they in place now?
They are in place now. So the zoning code, which is about this big,
Yeah.
right? It has rules about permanent development. How big a big building downtown can be, mixed-use buildings, what kind of landscaping, how many parking spaces, how much EV parking needs to be required. So basically, the whole zoning code is about permanent development. There is a chapter called the temporary activities chapter that lays out what kind of temporary activities can occur. Circuses, yard sales, and it has some rules about some of those. And then, so there is in the zoning code already an allowance for shelters to operate temporarily. The Portland building next door, I'm sure many of you have volunteered, right, during the cooling center or the heating shelter that the city opens. Those operate under the temporary rules of the zoning code for up to 180 days in the case of an emergency. In a case of a declared emergency, like the housing emergency that goes through March of 2025, the rules, that chapter of the zoning code also rules and allows for those temporary shelters to operate for the duration of the emergency. They're not limited to the 180 days of the regular. So there's kind of those two types, either 180 days, like the cooling and heating shelters, or for the duration of the emergency. Does that answer your question?
It sure does. One more question. In staff's evaluation, I'm trying to get a sense of the how much urgency is there around passing these now, and how long is it going to? What's the process for approving these? And are we delaying the onboarding of new shelter to any degree by virtue of waiting to get these approved?
So the process for approving them is to complete the hearing today and close the oral and written record.
Okay.
And then to pass it to second reading, which would be, we hope, next week, and then you vote on it next week. And then they would go into effect on March 31st is what
Okay.
we have in the ordinance. Go ahead, Patricia, did you have?
Oh, no. I was just going to say, we're at the end of the process right now. Sorry, Patricia Diefender for Chief Planner, Bureau of Planning and Sustainability, for the record. Yeah.
Great. Thank you very much.
One person signed up for public testimony. Is that accurate?
That's correct.
Why don't we let that person sign up? Are they virtual or are they here?
They're in person. It's Michael Spence.
Oh, very good. Why don't we let Michael testify, and then we can continue the discussion. Michael may have other things he needs to get on with. Welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
And if you could just introduce yourself for the record. Sure.
My name is Michael Spence, for the record. Thank you for your time today, Mayor and Commissioners, for allowing me to provide testimony on the subject of amending planning and zoning code to clarify the rules for shelters to facilitate more shelter options for Portlanders in need. On behalf of the people of Portland, it's an honor to be here. And I'll start by stating that I'm really unaware if anybody has really been taking the time to canvass our neighborhoods to get a deep understanding of what's happening on the ground pertaining to our shelters. However, I've taken it upon myself, and these are my findings here on this poster. As you see in the pictures, we have a serious gap in regulation and policy that harbors safe and resilient communities for all. All Portlanders deserve to live in a safe habitats with the basic resources needed for survival. In Chapter 3, Goal 3A, A City Designed for People, states that Portland's built environment is designed to serve needs and aspiration of all Portlanders, promoting prosperity, health, equity, and resiliency. New development, redevelopment, and public investments reduce disparities and encourage social interaction to create a healthy and connected city. A simple walk downtown, walking through the Pearl, North, and Southwest districts in our sprawling East Side neighborhoods will show you that that goal is very difficult to meet. Next, I'll touch on 3 policies directly associated to Central City. Policy 3.21 states that to recognize the city's role as the region's premier center for jobs, services, and civic and cultural institutions that support the entire city and region. As a fellow Portlander, I do find a real lack of services and cultural institutions designed to assist houseless people and other people in need to prevent them from becoming houseless. We need to do a better job, and we need to use our $250 million tax surplus from the Multnomah County tax efficiently and effectively to solve these issues. In Policy 3.22, it states that the city can concurrently provide equitable benefits to human health, the natural environment, and the local community. I see this as a failure, actually, for our city. Portlanders and tourists aren't spending nearly as much time downtown, which negatively is impacting our economy, causing businesses, many of them small, to close permanently. Without the resources for a houseless population, there's often human feces and urine seen on city sidewalks and on the side of buildings, which is direct public health concern. No human being should have to defecate in public on the sidewalk, and no human should have to walk through that. And also, it's not healthy to have feces and urine as they spread disease. In policy 3.24, it states that the city has the highest concentrations of housing with a diversity of housing options and services. And I'll defer to the pictures so you can make your own judgment to whether or not these policies are working. As a Portlander, I expect our leaders to meet the need of the people by providing safe, equitable spaces for all Portlanders. No one should be forced to live in a tent, defecate on the streets, dodge needles, and other types of drug paraphernalia. It's dangerous. We deserve better, our kids deserve better, and our pets. We're all Portlanders, and we deserve a suitable habitat where we can all thrive.
Thank you, and you will find no argument from me. Commissioner Gonzalez, did you
I
have a
just
comment?
want to say thank you for your comments and an engagement on this. This is a tough public policy issue, to say the least, so thank you for being here and engaging on it.
Well, thank you for allowing me to speak.
Thank you.
No, thank you, Michael. It's a great presentation. I'd want to just let you know, just because you're very informed, is that the 250 goes to Metro, and then it goes directly to the county. So we don't have access to that. So it'd also be good to do this presentation at the county as well.
Can I respond?
Yeah, of
you
course.
can.
I appreciate that comment, my understanding with that is that there is a site in Multnomah County where folks can go pick up their tents. And oftentimes, those tents are then pitched on the streets, just all around the neighborhoods in the community. You can see on the pictures here. And then we use our taxpayer dollars to then sweep those tents. So to your point, Dan, I'm sorry, Commissioner Ryan, apologies. I do hear you, and I will go to the county on that. But we also do have to understand that those tents are coming into Portland, the city, and then we're sweeping them.
Not to-
Yes.
Longer conversation.
Not to preview too much, but you may be seeing something from one of my bureaus on the specific question in the not-too-distant future, specifically the funding of tents. So thank you for calling it out, and more to come.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for being here. We do appreciate it, and thanks in particular for being here in person. All right, that completes public testimony. Colleagues, maybe we could get staff to come back up, because I'm sure there's probably a couple of more questions that people have. Colleagues, any thoughts on the presentation or on Commissioner Rubio's amendment? If not, go for it. Commissioner Gonzalez, you're up.
All right, these will be fairly specific, I think. Going back to the 2-acre limitation, if I understood correctly, in industrial land. So the point of, so I just want to be clear of the spirit, and then I have a follow-up question. The spirit is sometimes industrial locations are going to be larger than 2 acres, but you're trying to preserve the right to build shelters up to 2 acres in those larger lots. Is that correct?
That's correct. That was the spirit of the original sheltered housing project.
And could you explain the logic on limiting to 2 acres? So if you had a really large, location that was 26 acres, why wouldn't we want to at least consider the possibility of going to 4 or 5 acres?
Well, partially is because we have an industrial sanctuary policy in the city and the comprehensive plan, and we protect our industrial land for industrial jobs. It's one of our biggest job bases, and we know people in Portland need jobs for prosperities. So that's the main reason, is whenever we allow new uses in industrial zones, we want to make sure that they're not compromising our industrial base. Would you add anything to that?
Yeah, well, I would also add that the state has land use planning goals, and Goal 9 has to do with, includes policies around industrial lands, and I understand, I can't say that I'm an expert on that, but I know that there's a reference in there about 2 acres. It talks about there being 2 acres, exempting sites that are less than 2 acres from needing to be a goal, a goal exception if it's under 2 acres, a site that's on the Bureau, the inventory of industrial land. So I'm 98% sure that I'm correct in that.
So the 2 acres threshold is sort of bootstrapping off of state guidance on the protection of industrial land,
Yeah,
essentially.
we can refresh our memories on that and get back to your office about that. so
Yeah,
we
that'd
can
be
double
great. And
check.
again, it's just not, it's addressing not to inadvertently create barriers if for whatever reason, you know, there was a compelling argument for a larger shelter that we at least wouldn't inadvertently create barriers. I guess the related question, if I understand correctly, in a state of emergency, however, you know, theoretically, could you wouldn't be relying on this 2 acre rule potentially, right? Could you circumvent the 2 acres in the event of emergency?
Yep. No.
Oh, I thought you said you wanted to.
Yes, if under the emergency, there's the section in the temporary activities chapter that allows for shelters to operate, and it doesn't place any limitations on that, on the size.
So that might be a good balance. If we had to do it in emergency, you could go bigger, but, you know, in terms of a sustainable shelter there for an extended period of time, you're back to kind of the 2 acre rule.
Before, I would also want to get back to maybe your office a little bit, because has the state's expired? 'Cause there was-
So let me jump in here for a moment. Patricia Diefender for Chief Planner. So the basic objective with these rules is to allow for shelters, outdoor shelters, to be able to locate whether or not we have an emergency declaration. The rules under an emergency declaration are generally set aside due to that emergency declaration. This is, as Sandra said, generally the zoning code is dealing with permanent regulations and how to allow and facilitate the range of uses that are needed in a city on a permanent basis. And so this is intended to just ensure that the zoning code is clear on how you do this in an ongoing way, regardless of an emergency declaration.
If I may also just jump in here, it also softens up community opposition or potential opposition by establishing clear standards around setbacks, around the fencing and the visibility or the relative visibility, environmental overlays, and other issues that people frequently raise as objections to us establishing temporary shelter in the absence of these rules. Because frankly, under an emergency declaration right now, we can pretty much do whatever we want. And I totally understand why that raises concerns on the part of the public. So this is really, I think, a common sense approach to try to take into the needs that we need in terms of flexibility to address the crisis, while acknowledging the community has justifiable concerns that they want addressed. And now it's clear up front that we will comply with, assuming we adopt these, that we will comply with these standards.
That's correct.
And actually, that segues to the last for now question. So if I understand correctly, with respect to river setbacks, under what's proposed here, if you're in a river setback, you can't get a permit for a shelter under these rules, correct?
Correct. That's what the Commissioner Rubio's amendment ensures.
Okay. And so many of you may have heard of the Selwood Navy, right? We have a lot of boats in the Willamette that are essentially permanent residents. That is not the city's jurisdiction. I think the sheriff primarily enforces there, and I think it's, if I'm correct, it may be a state park technically. I can't remember jurisdictionally, but have you given any thought to, you know, how those folks are accessing structures on the shore? And maybe, again, it's outside the scope of this, because you're looking at permanent shelter solutions. But I just was curious if you thought at all about the interaction between folks on the river and the shore, and maybe the answer is we just don't want to sanction any kind of camp in that environment. I'm just curious if it came up.
I don't think it came up during our outreach for sure, but our policies certainly along the Willamette River, and this is why we have the greenway along the Willamette River, is to improve access for recreation and facilities along the Willamette River so everyone can enjoy. And that's why we have the setback. We want buildings to be set back, and we want that to be kind of landscaped and the pathways to be allowed, you know, through there. And yeah.
It makes perfect sense, mostly put on the record, because it's sort of a no man's land in terms of how we're interacting with those boats right now. It creates its own problems, and just to be clear, we're not really talking about this. We're not necessarily talking about their access on shore.
Correct.
We're talking about where we're putting permanent shelters, and they shouldn't be in the greenways or the riverways. Is what I'm-
Correct.
Okay, that's it for now. That's what we call it, Sylvan Navy.
Any further discussion, Commissioner Maps? Commissioner Maps, and then I'll.
Sure. This is more of a comment to staff and Commissioner Rubio. These proposals strike me as being common sense technical amendments. I'm definitely going to vote for them. I don't know if this is technically possible, but if there's any advantage to voting on this as an emergency ordinance so we can implement them more quickly, I would be open to that. I'm not quite sure how we get from here to there or if that actually makes sense on the ground, but I'll just put it out there that that's something I would be willing to do. And I'll let Commissioner Rubio and staff figure out if that's possible or if it would even be helpful. That's all I got.
This is a land use hearing, so I don't know if that is an option or not to move this to an emergency.
It is an option. I think you'll want to hear from staff because of desired implementation coordination with BDS, but yes, you always can do these. This one you can because we've actually revised the findings already in anticipation of today. So we don't have to wait
Oh,
a
good,
particular
okay.
amount of time.
Well, that solves that.
We would need an amendment to the ordinance to change the effective date, correct?
Correct. We would need to amend section 2 with this one. Yes.
Right, because the ordinance itself says effective date of March 31st, so we would need to amend that to,
Let me ask you a question before we do that. Is there any advantage to doing it?
I think many of the shelter providers, one of the benefits for them is to know what the rules are. So if they're citing a shelter, even if it's temporarily, they know what rules we've established. So by the passage of next week, they would already know what those rules are, and it wouldn't necessarily make much of a difference.
I appreciate the discussion. I put the idea out there. I'll let staff and Commissioner Rubio figure out where to go from here.
All right, Commissioner Ryan.
First of all, thank you for bringing this back. I have to say, the last 2 years I've been on council, this kind of brings together the two areas I've hung out at the most, which is permitting, thank you, Commissioner Maps, and then citing these shelters. And I remember when we passed this legislation in the early 2021, I just thought, oh, perfect. This is all set up. It's going to be so easy. And I can't tell you how many times I was on the phone with the very talented and astute Charity Montez, who understands codes so well. And if it wasn't for Terry White's agility in BDS, it would have even been more of a nightmare. So these changes we're making are really a big deal, especially the 25 to 5 feet. I can't tell you how many times that was making the design almost merely impossible. So, and this does give clarity. When we were in our many meetings in Zoom land with neighbors, having these adjustments is going to help so much. But more importantly, I want to lift organizations like Beacon and We Shine and Agape, the ones that we really want, especially our communities of faith, to be a part of this emergency and to adapt with their parking lots. And we're finding that if we didn't make these adjustments, they were the ones that were really suffering with the current codes we have. So as you said earlier, I think it was you, Erica, that anytime you do a really big legislation like this, then you start applying it, and then you learn that you need to make some edits. And so these are just perfect edits. And so I appreciate the tone of your urgency, Commissioner Maps, because I think we've been acting as if to try to get these built. And I know that the village team really did provide a lot of the fodder to make these amendments and to update this policy. So I'm just so thrilled that we're here today. It's really exciting. And I have to say that the Safe Rest Village team has actually done eight shelter permits and under the current rules. And so I know after these would be in place, that would have gone much faster. So this is really important as we look forward to dealing with this humanitarian crisis. Thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Rubio.
Thank you, Mayor, and I just want to thank Commissioner Maps for lifting up that suggestion, and I just want to sort of pose that question to Commissioner Ryan and Mayor Wheeler, given things that are in the queue. If you think that they would make a material difference, that moving the timing up for any of the projects that we have on deck with Safe Rest Villages or some of the other projects, and maybe to Sandra as well. So if it makes a material difference, I'm open to that, but want to check with folks who are actually doing the work and know more than I do.
I don't think it makes a material difference from my perspective.
I'm texting Charity Montez as we speak, but she's been very involved in this process and knows all the timelines. So I haven't heard that it would make a material difference because, like you said, once they know what the rules are and that we're passing it, then by the time its reality is basically, you said the end of March? Is it March 31st?
March 31st.
March 31st, and we're up,
Well, they'll know in about 5 minutes. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're going to vote on it.
Right.
Yeah.
right.
It
Sorry.
just doesn't become enacted formally until a later date.
Yeah.
But we
Right.
could, there's nothing that prevents us from doing our planning effective this afternoon with these rules
In
anticipated
mind.
being. That is correct.
That's correct.
No material difference, March
All right.
31st. I can validate this
All right.
directly from Charity Montez.
Thank you.
No
I
material
appreciate
difference.
that.
Yeah.
And I also appreciate the sense of urgency, Commissioner Maps, and probably follow the advice of our team and stay the course then.
I think BDS might appreciate that too, because as you know, you passed a resolution for codes to go into effect twice a year. And so we're hitting that deadline for everything to go into twice a year, and it just gives them an opportunity to get the documents up and running, so.
That's correct.
Good, all right. Then if there is no further business, we will start with Commissioner Rubio's amendment. It's already been moved and seconded. Any further discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, please call the roll on the amendment.
Rubio.
I really want to just appreciate the team's work here at BPS. Excellent work. Really appreciate my colleagues' participation and participation of providers and community on this important amendment and this package. I vote aye.
Ryan.
Yes, very smart amendments. I vote aye.
Gonzalez.
Thank you for the work here and the explanations. It makes perfect sense. I vote aye.
Maps.
I'd like to thank Commissioner Rubio and her team for these common sense amendments. I look forward to implementing them. I vote aye.
Wheeler.
I vote aye. The amendment is adopted. We will move this to a second reading as amended. The time certain is February 15th at 9:45 a.m. And the oral and the written record are both closed as of this time. Is there any further business on this that I'm forgetting, legal counsel?
No, you've captured it. Thank you.
All right, very good. Thank you, everyone. That concludes today's hearing and this afternoon's agenda. We are adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.